For the people of Tibet, freedom has long been a stranger to their land. Since China occupied the country in 1951, their culture, language, and religion have come under a brutal assault. 1.2 million of them have died. Countless more have been imprisoned and tortured. Their non-violent resistance has proved futile, and their plight has been largely ignored by Western governments. Their spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, along with hundreds of thousands of his people, have fled their homeland. The Tibetan people are now scattered like ants across the world. Dharamshala in northern India is home to the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan government in exile. It's also where 5,000 refugees have set up their home, having made the hazardous journey over the Himalayas from Tibet. Conditions are harsh and daily life is a struggle, but they've made the most of their limited resources. The religion of Buddhism is the crux of Tibetan society, and there's little room for anything else. But there are some pastimes which are enjoyed by the people and the monks.
Many of the monks here love watching football on the television. Strictly speaking, our religion does not allow the monks to play football because it can lead to them getting egos and having selfish emotions. But some of them love the game so much that they will try and play it whenever they get the chance.
As part of China, the Tibetans have been deprived of any political or religious freedom, so the prospect of any independence as a sporting nation has always been a fantasy. But that could all change soon. This month in Nepal, 20 Tibetan refugees from all over India made the journey to Kathmandu for a week-long training camp and 2 friendly matches. A local Tibetan school was the venue for the camp, and professional coaching was provided by Jens Espensen from Denmark.
There are 2 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
His colleague, Michael Nybrandt, is responsible for the whole project.
Because they'll be left on their own.
A couple of years ago, I had a dream, and the dream told me that I was the manager of a Tibetan national football team. The dream stayed with me and haunted me. It was then I realized that I should try and fulfill what happened in my dream.
Michael became sympathetic towards the Tibetan cause after travelling extensively throughout the country. His goal is to arrange an official match between Tibet and Greenland, another country with no recognised national football team. He hopes to raise awareness of Tibet's struggle and to show that there's more to Tibetan culture than monks and Buddhism, that they can play football too.
If the political situation changes, then maybe one day the Tibet team could be officially recognized by FIFA. This has already happened with China, allowing Hong Kong and Macau to be independent football nations. I think the same thing should happen for Tibet.
Full independence for Tibet is impossible in the current political climate, but the world is now starting to ask questions of China's appalling human rights record in the country. Whatever this project achieves, it will at least serve to raise awareness of the Tibet issue.
These days, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is travelling widely to publicise what is happening in Tibet. Many people are starting to listen now, but we can do more. If we can get Tibetans playing football and other sports, then I think it is a great way to also promote the Tibetan cause.
The first match was a unique occasion, a friendly against a team made up from Kathmandu's Tibetan refugee population. The teams exchanged traditional scarves and received a personal message from the Dalai Lama himself. It was only a friendly, but there was no shortage of competitive spirit. Nybrandt's squad had only been together for a week, so it was hardly ideal preparation for the start of any team, let alone a national team. But they soon overcame their unfamiliarity with each other and began to play some good football. They even opened the scoring. The 200 Tibetan refugees who turned up to watch weren't sure which team to support, but there was plenty of entertainment on the pitch. Tibet almost went ahead 2-0. The refugees then equalised, but it was an occasion where the result was always going to be of secondary importance. There are 6,000 Tibetan refugees living in Kathmandu, and it was a great opportunity for some of them to witness such a special occasion.
When I watch events like the Olympics or the World Cup on the television, I feel very sad. We have many talented youngsters who can play football and other sports, but we have no teams to represent us.
A 1-1 draw in their very first match, and more importantly, it would be the beginning of something a lot bigger. But the trip to Nepal was always going to be about more than just football. This is a Tagmo Luchen shrine. Legend has it that here Buddha offered his own flesh to a starving family of tigers. It's one of the most sacred places for all Buddhists to visit, and for the Tibetan team, a pilgrimage which would fulfill a lifetime ambition. Tibetan team co-manager Karma Nora.
Coming here will be beneficial to all the players. It will give them strength, not only in their daily lives, but also on the football pitch. This has been a very important visit, and I think we will be blessed with good performances and good results.
They'd need all their strength and togetherness for their next match. Another friendly, but this time against Friends Club, an amateur league team from Kathmandu. Another exchange of cultural clothing couldn't disguise the fact that this would be a real test of the team's strength. The spectacular backdrop seemed to inspire Tibet. Jens Espensen has coached in Denmark, Spain, Portugal and Singapore, and his work was beginning to have a positive effect on his latest team. With another big turnout of refugees to watch the match, Tibet had the better of the first half and again opened the scoring. Friends Club then turned up the pressure, but Tibet's goalkeeper, Tamdin Singh, proved to be more than a match for whatever was thrown at him. Confidence was growing in the Tibet team, enough even for them to try a few tricks. But eventually, as expected, Friends Club began to dictate the match and scored 4 goals in succession. Tibet managed a second, and the 4-2 defeat was a highly credible result considering the standard of the opposition. It rounded off a very positive week for the fledgling team.
I think they did really well considering they haven't been together long. Just imagine what they could do if they played together for a few months.
Today, there are more than 110,000 Tibetans in exile in 16 different countries. 5 million still live in Tibet. Their only wish is to live in a country free from oppression. They're prepared to use any weapon to promote their cause. Apart, of course, from violence.
If we were to have a Tibetan national football team in the future, that would be fantastic. It would be a great source of pride for the Tibetan people and our exiled government.
Tibet's fate is still undecided, and much suffering may lie ahead. But with the help of football, maybe more people will begin to take notice of Tibet.